Hey guys, so what if I told you that waking up, the process of awakening itself necessitates some form of disruption? That every single time that you've ever gone through an awakening process and transformed your consciousness, you by default had to have been disrupted along the way. What if I told you that this moment we're in right now, this moment of self-isolation, self-quarantine, is obviously a massive radical disruption, and that you can leverage that and use that for your own personal benefit to heal, to grow, and to transform. Would you be interested? Would you want to know more? So if so, please watch on and I'll go ahead and break it down for you in this video. So quick acknowledgement for anyone who watches my videos in series. My last video, I did just talk about how I wouldn't be talking about coronavirus related content anymore because it doesn't seem to get clicks. No one seems to care when I talk about it. So ironically, this video, I've changed my mind and I am talking about something kind of related to that, but really I'm wanting to look at it more from the angle of this being a teachable universal about the path of awakening, the personal experience of awakening, the personal experience of healing, and really help you if you're someone who's struggling with this moment and this kind of self-isolation, this self-quarantine, this experience of disruption in our culture that we're going through right now, which is unique. And as far as I know, kind of unparalleled. There's a beautiful opportunity in it. But if you're having resistance, if you're having overwhelm or stress about it, then you're not going to get the kind of nectar, the juice out of this moment that you could get out of it for yourself. So I want to kind of reiterate what I said in a recent video, which was, it's called Salvia Coagula. And I made it maybe 2-3 weeks ago where I kind of laid this idea out. But I want to make it more bare bones and plain for you because this is a crucial concept to get. So let's go ahead and crack into it about. So I'll have a video coming out shortly that lays out this whole process in explicit detail. And this is some content that I don't think you're going to see anywhere else. I don't know of anybody else who makes this particular content around the process and path of awakening. So in my own experience of awakening and what I've, recorded and kind of mapped out based on all kinds of other awakenings I've seen from interviewing friends and, looking around, kind of reading books about, saints and spiritual teachers and, people's political awakenings and psychological awakenings. There are kind of universals. There's a map there. There is a structure to the experience of awakening. And what I've noticed is that one of the fundamental basics, one of the fundamental core things that has to be there for awakening, it's actually two things, is pain. So we have to be in pain. If we're not in pain, we won't change anything. If everything's pleasurable and perfect, you're not going to change a thing. So obviously, all growth, all change stems from pain. But pain alone won't get you to grow. Why is that? Because pain tends to make people want to shut down and retract from it and kind of shy away and close up. Or run away, right? So typically pain in and of itself is just going to cause people to what? To just cope, to just deal, to just dial down the nervous system and numb out enough to get through it over and over. So what causes awakening isn't just pain, it's pain plus a pattern disruption. So when we are in pain and then all of a sudden life comes and disrupts that pattern for us and we get to break out of that cycle of pain for a moment, then we have a moment where we start to awaken, or we have the potential to awaken. And that awakening often looks like overwhelm, disorientation, confusion, uncertainty, ungroundedness, fluidity. And, sometimes that's really upsetting, but I would also argue that that could be equally pleasurable and liberating. Some great examples of that most of us are kind of familiar with would be travel. So anytime you travel, even if you're just taking a road trip to, say, another state or another city, or international travel, or any sort of like breaking out of your usual, even if just in your day-to-day life, you have one of those days where you decide, I'm just going to do all kinds of stuff I've never done before. I'm going to go to a new place. I'm going to eat a new meal. I'm going to talk to people I've never met, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every time you interrupt the pattern with a new, different way of being, what you'll notice is that that can be enlivening, enriching. All of a sudden your nervous system, boom, snaps on and you wake up. And all of a sudden your brain is working more fluidly, you're catching more details, you're more present to the moment, right? And this is just kind of part and parcel of that moment of disruption. I think really what it is that we're having some sort of a survival response. So generally speaking, the brain will give you more of the goods, more of your capabilities when you need them, if it feels like you're in a threatening or potentially threatening situation. So if you think about it, anytime you're in a situation where it's new, it's novel, and things are disrupted and you're uncertain what's going to happen, your brain has to give you more. It has to pay attention more closely to make sure that you survive those moments. So a lot of times what happens is that we'll have pain and then we have this pattern disrupt, and that frees up, if you want to think of it in like an energetic terms, like in Kundalini or chakra kind of, language, it frees up this energy. And all of a sudden, your life force is not bound into these kind of habituated circuits of repeating the same cycle and kind of burning in the same pathway over and over and over. All of a sudden, your nervous system wakes up, pays attention, and your life force is a little more liberated and more present, and there's more of it. Now, what I said in the Salvia Coagula video that I want to recommunicate to you here is that can go one of two ways. And this is really key. This is really important. So please pay attention for your well-being, okay? When your life force gets liberated like that, one way that can go is that you don't recognize that your life force has been kind of stirred up and liberated and is unbound from its habituated pattern. And you're just in fear. You're just in overwhelm. You're just in distress. You're just in anxiety. And if that's the case, typically what you'll do is what you normally do in pain and fear, which is you'll contract, you'll retract, you'll try to shut it down, close it off, chill out the stimulus. And what happens when your life force is freed up like that and there's this, desire to want to just avoid the stimulus, what's going to happen is that you become vulnerable. You either become vulnerable to rewiring in worse behavior patterns and kind of lowering your level of consciousness more, or you become vulnerable to other people taking control of your life force and doing something with it and manipulating you. So that's one way it goes. So this is why I want you to pay attention, because I don't want you to be vulnerable in that way. The other way that it goes, though, is that when your life force is freed up, if you're then given a new way of being, or you discover a new way of being, or you engage in a new way of being, you play around with a new way of being, however it happens, if you have a new way forward with your life force that is better, that's healthier, that's more empowering, that's more liberating, that's more close to the truth for you, whatever it is that might be better for you. When you have that path forward like that, then all of a sudden what happens is you move forward, you level up, you become something better, you become something healthier, you become a new iteration of yourself, you level up, right? And so this is what happens when you're disrupted. You have this option to either level down or get manipulated, or you have this option to level up by taking all of that life force and putting it into a new pattern. Over time, that new pattern will, of course, kind of congeal and like close in and become something focused and habituated and familiar. And if that's a healthy pattern for you, if you've, leveled up into a better pattern, then you habituate that, then what you've done is you've improved your life. You've transformed your life. If you don't, if you don't habituate into that new pattern, then you're either going to go back into the old, you're going to go back into the pain, or it'll be worse. So this is why I want to communicate this to you, because there are people who, and maybe you're one of them, who are in resistance to this moment of disruption, who are just, it's too much, I'm freaked out, things are unstable, I can't deal with the uncertainty, it's uncomfortable. And that uncertainty and that resistance, rather, to the uncertainty actually closes you off from the opportunity to refine, to purify, to distinguish for yourself what that next better adjustment for yourself or for your loved ones or for life around you is, and then to boom, like engage in it and go after it and get it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarifies for you a bit why it is that you want to take advantage of this time and really build new habits and really go deep with this fear, turn the fear into just a freed up life force that you can use to engage in the life you want and improve your life. Just to kind of put this in context, this is something, again, that I learned from looking at personal transformation, from looking at awakening processes, spiritually, psychologically, and politically. So these are people I've seen, and mapped out or read biographies of, or looked at myself and compared and contrasted with other people. And this is that first step of awakening, is pattern disruption, and then leveling that into a new and better way of being. This is something, if you've done psychedelics, I talk about psychedelics a lot on my channel. This is something that if you've done psychedelics should be kind of familiar to you, because really it's at the root of the psychedelic experience. You ingest this psychedelic, and then all of a sudden, as it comes on and interrupts your biology, interrupts your neural patterning, interrupts, takes your default mode network offline and allows your brain to start working in these new ways, you've literally, you've disrupted your standard way of being, and now you're operating in a new and different way. And therefore, you're able to learn. Your life force gets freed up, and you're able to learn. You're able to transform. You're able to shift things. You're able to grow. You're able to see new things. You're able to level up your capabilities. And then, as the drug wears off, that kind of congeals. And so this was one of the first places that I started to notice it, but it really ties in, just going back to my old video. I'll leave a card up above. I probably already did, where you can go see the other video. But this really is an ancient concept. This is rooted in alchemy, the solve et coagula, dissolve and then to recoagulate, right? So you want to dissolve your old pattern, transform like a butterfly in the chrysalis, then reform yourself into a new way of being. So I hope that's inspiring. I hope that helps you. And looks like I got this video in under 15 minutes, so I'm happy about that. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.